started the photography side with the family, and it was all 8mm stuff. And we used to get the kids in, you know, at Halloween and looking for apples, things like that. I joined the Thornley Bank Video Club just to learn what was going on and how to put a film together.
I bought a cine camera with the idea of capturing family events, birthdays, Christmas, weddings, holidays. And then I bought an editor to chop it up, to cut out the bad bits, of which there were plenty. I saved up for my first cine camera, which, believe it or not, was silent. There was no sound on it. And I bought it from Dayton's in Paisley. And I paid, back in the late 60s, just under £100. And that was a lot of money in the days.
They did a lot of weaving in Paisley. And then we had all the mills. We had two Clark's Mill. We had Clark's Mill and the Coates Mills. And one is gone. And I happened to, when I bought my first camera, they were actually demolishing it, and I called that film Threadbare, and I managed to get some good footage of the demolishing of that one.
Please excuse the pun, but I'm sure many of the older generation could spin a yarn or two about this place. It's now Christmas 1992, and we're looking here at the end of an era with the demolition of the Fergusley cotton mills, which were built in 1886 by the Coates family.
Jack was, to my knowledge, the only person who had ever filmed any of the Paisley mills being demolished. And when I came across his footage, I knew immediately that we had to have it. We making a film about the demise of the Paisley mills, the building stock was a huge part of the story, and to have it's all very well to have people describing it coming down, but to see it is a whole different ballgame. And we used it right near the top of the film. It's very dramatic footage.
There was nobody else doing it, and that's a real part of Paisley's industry.
Jack approached the demolition of the Paisley mills with an intent, with an interest, and with some research. I mean, you know, if I approach something, I'm doing a lot of research before I film it. I don't just turn up and film it.
Our future hangs by a thread. If industries keep disappearing, so too will communities.
Amateur footage or personal footage is hugely important to documenting history. I think voices that have not been heard are always going to be important, and that's when it comes to testimony, but also when it comes to archive. When I'm looking for contributors, I try not to look for the obvious.
The Evening Times on a Thursday afternoon published a What's On page. And Jack would say, there's this or that on, do you fancy? Would say yes. It could have been dragon boat racing in Loch Lomond. So that would be the day, down to Loch Lomond. And that's how we worked. When the Renfrewshire ferry was taken out of service, a Dutch company brought over what they called an aquabus. And journalists and certain people had been invited to go aboard this bus as it drove into the river. Needless to say, Jack nudged me, we're going on, and so he did. Nothing would stop him. You know, he hated to lose what he called a necessary shot. I remember we were in Durham one year, and we're on a trip on the Tanfield Railway. I don't know if you've heard of it. It claims to be the oldest railway in the world still operating. Anyway, I'm shooting the guard, just a very young man. He blows his whistle and waves the flag to signal to the driver. It's safe to leave. And I hears Jackie shouting out,
Oh, would you do that again, please?
He turned round to me later on and says, you did get the guard, didn't you? Yes.
It's always going to be important to make sure that things are documented, but you never know things are important at the time. It's usually with hindsight and with nostalgic lens that we see the things that have been important in a way have a different context later.
I remember him telling me, if you're shooting for an audience, check and double check any information you give them. You don't want somebody in the audience saying, you've made a mistake.
I've had great fun, I've met great people. I hope to entertain people, and that's why I keep on doing it.